China Salesman is a movie, wasn't really on my radar, but it was the subject of one of Ralph the Movie Maker's YouTube videos. He talks about Steven Seagal's later movies. He mainly explored China Salesman, The Perfect Weapon, and a few others to sort of showcase, why Steven Seagal is where he went, because he was a pretty big powerhouse in the early 90s for a while there, and then he sort of just got lazy, and this movie is a fantastic showcase of that. This movie is based off the true story of a young man named, let's see, his name's not even on here. It's, I forget his name, but he's a Chinese engineer that everyone calls the China Salesman. They say it about 8 times in the movie. It's very hammy, but he's trying to get telecommunications deal in Africa. And I think in the early, oh man, I don't even put the time period in here either. It's like probably like 2005 or something. And essentially, he's got to go up against 4 large European companies, and they're trying to negotiate a bid to do the telecommunications deal, but there is a local tribesman played by Mike Tyson, and there's also Steven Seagal, who is named Louder. He's a mercenary. They're on the opposite sides, and this movie is really interesting. Within the first 60 seconds, they showcase all the different characters, and then they CGI Steven Seagal's face onto a guy on a motorcycle. I shit you not. It honestly looks like someone printed off a black and white picture of Steven Seagal's face and taped it to the front of the motorcycle helmet. That's how terrible it looked. And how does a movie get to that point where you can't even have one of your cast members at least do like a double? You could have at least had the guy on the motorcycle go down the street, go to the bar that he owns, and have him take off the helmet, and then have Steven Seagal in like the leather jacket. That's all you would like. That's all you needed. But I'm guessing that Steven Seagal was like, no, I don't want to do that. I just want the money. So there's a fight scene that happens within the first 15 minutes of this movie. Terribly shot. It's probably one of the worst action scenes I've ever seen. Basically, Steven Seagal owns this bar, and he's having an argument with Mike Tyson's character, who's playing like a hammy local African man, who's arguing with the villain, who is like this French guy that looks like the most cliche villain of all time. But essentially, they get into a fist fight, and Mike Tyson, he can fight. We've seen him in Ip Man 3. So, but the movie's so edited to shit that he basically, there's a scene where like a guy like goes like, oh yeah, 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 and then like, but then they cut to him fighting a different guy. So that guy just didn't even like charge him yet, and they do the whole attack him one at a time. But the more silly part of the fight scene is that they edit the fight between Steven Seagal and Mike Tyson. Like, they're not even in the same scene together. I don't know if they ever were, but you can tell the stunt doubles because one of them's really slim, and they try to CGI it, and it looks really bad. Like they think there's a really funny scene where his hand like misses and hits his ear, and he's like, ah! Oh man, this movie, I watched it because I thought it'd be a cinematic atrocity, but it never gets to those comedic heights. I guess for what it's trying to be like a searing drama about the need to bring civilization to the wilderness of another country. And basically the plot entails a general is killed in a helicopter crash. So the country is turned into turmoil because the people cannot communicate with each other to find out what happened, and people don't want to accept telegrams. They think that hearing the voice of the president to calm the fears of everyone would be better. However, the villain Michael is trying to, sabotage the communications because he wants his company to have the deal. And there's a lot of, shall we say, fake patriotism in this movie that's in a lot of Chinese films recently. There's a scene where they can't get past a sort of blockade. So the main character grabs a Chinese flag and waves it, and they're like, oh, it's a Chinese guy, it's okay, we'll let them through. And then he gets an award at the end worth $1 million or something, so that gives him enough to do the deal or something. And I'm guessing the story wanted to be like a drama, but the drama elements wouldn't be enough to make a movie, because basically the person in the movie, he used a source code that he got from one of the competitors to break the monopoly and essentially give Africa telecommunications networks, 3G, I believe. So, I mean, that in itself, is something you could just read on a piece of paper. That's not a 90-minute movie. So they decided to throw in all this war stuff, having, Michael hire Mike Tyson's character to cause damage to the towers and things like that, and have like armed insurgents. And there's a lot of messy, crappy action scenes, especially that fight scene. And look at the back of the DVD cover. Look at this. It's got like Tyson versus Seagal. Yeah, I'm just gonna read the back DVD cover to show you how misleading this movie is. Based on a true story, China Salesman takes us on a dangerous and epic adventure to North Africa, where a skilled Chinese engineer, played by Dong Zhu Li from Brotherhood of Blades, comes face to face with a corrupt competitor over a prize telecom deal. That'd be Michael. Local tribesman Kaba, Mike Tyson, former heavyweight champion and star of Rocky Balboa and The Hangover, and the mercenary Louder, Steven Seagal, star of Above the Law and Under Siege, take up opposite sides in a brutal fist-to-fist fight while the entire region threatens to explode in a dangerous civil war. So I guess it's one of those misleading sort of movies where they're like, we got Mike Tyson versus Steven Seagal. And they have this crappy 5-minute CGI fight that really doesn't do anything. So, I mean, it's kind of like trying to trick you into going to the theater because you think you're going to get like this action-packed, martial arts action flick, but not really. And let's see. Yeah, I mean, Steven Seagal's barely in the movie. He's the most entertaining part every time they CGI his face onto a motorcycle helmet. Man, if they only had the whole movie was like that, it'd be a cinematic atrocity, in my opinion. But China Salesman's not really that funny. It made me laugh a couple of times here and there. Let's see. As a movie, yeah, it's not very interesting. There's a lot of just... The direction's pretty crappy. Even if you wanted to just strip away the faux martial arts bits and just have it be like a war story, it just doesn't really work. I mean, it's not enough story. They had to add all this stuff in. There's a lot of hamminess, a lot of characters being like, China Salesman, can you do this? And he's like, I can, sir. Yeah, it's just not a very good movie. I thought it would just be good, funny I did laugh a few times, but it's not enough to be a recommendation for a cinematic atrocity, which is what I'm hoping for. But it's also great to see in the flesh, the fall of Steven Seagal. I'm a huge fan of Steven Seagal's first 5 to 6 movies and a few others after that. But I mean, we're getting to the point where he's willing to be in a movie, literally be third build, and be on the DVD cover, and literally just collect the paycheck. He won't even do the stunt double of a motorcycle guy to show that he's on the motorcycle. He won't even be in the same room. It's almost like he came in, did a couple of scenes with talking, and they said, he left in the middle of filming. Let's just CGI his face onto another guy and make it look like he's fighting Mike Tyson so we can tell people that they fought in the movie. And I guess it's kind of like those crappy fake martial arts scenes where you try to make someone look like they're better at fighting than they are, like the Taken movies or any crappy action movie where they use over editing to make it look like it. This movie literally has a lot of budget just to make it look like they're fighting, which is like a huge waste. So anyways, The China Salesman is not a very interesting movie. I gave it a 2 out of 10.